Yeah, so I was just telling you before, I probably had the most wild movie theater experience seeing Blue Beetle. It wasn't like wild, like, you see on Twitter and stuff, like fights and anything, nothing like that, but just a personal hell of mine. So Blue Beetle, not doing too good at the box office. My theater's pretty empty. I got a seat by myself in my nice little area. Really open theater. So my God, this should just be a nice little Tuesday night at the old cinema. Right behind me, this family of I don't even know. I didn't even like look to see, but little kids basically acting like they're at home in their living room, just commentating the whole movie like very loudly. I think they were having like a tickle fight at one point because they were just laughing and just walking around. It was just a nightmare. I can't stand that shit, man. It's so annoying. And the parents did nothing to, no shushes, no like, hey, quiet down, inside voices, just let them run wild. And it wasn't like it was just me and this other family. Like there were people there, but they were just right behind me and I can hear everything. And it was driving me absolutely fucking crazy to the point where I was either going to move or just leave. But we had to do this review. So I stood strong. So you think that's pretty wild, right? So about it was after Blue Beetle got his powers. What is that, like 25 minutes into the movie? Somebody comes into my aisle with their flashlight on, looking for the seats. Oh, looking for their seats. Maybe they were just a little late. When I tell you there was 5 seats to my left, 5 seats to my right, I might be understating it. I pretty much had the whole row to myself. Where do you think she sits?
Right next to you?
Right next to me.
People, man, they get those assigned seats and they just have to sit in their assigned seat.
But I got my seat by myself well before the movie. They had to have picked that seat with seeing that I'm there already.
Yeah.
I don't understand
it. Did you guys fall in
it.
love?
No, I didn't say a word to her.
Did she give you something that was like, please take this home, hide it?
That would have been cool. She was like a spy or something, but she's looking, and like I see her looking, and I'm like, all right, well, even if that is your assigned seat, you're late to the movie, no one's sitting in those other spots. But
I know people like that, though. We'll walk into an empty theater, and they'll be like, all right, where's our assigned seats? And I'm like, yo, I think we can sit anywhere.
Why pick the one next to mine?
Yeah, no, she just wanted, maybe she's lonely. She wanted to make a friend.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been but there was no sense of friendship. And it had 2 post credits, so we're just sitting next to each other waiting for the credits to roll.
Oh, I missed the second post credit. I walked out after the first one. I was like, I can't imagine I'm gonna care.
But I looked online and it said it was like a pretty big one. It wasn't. It was just it was nothing. But so I'm just sitting next to this stranger silently, because I also didn't want her to think that I picked the seat. I was gonna be like, I got this first, right? There was another guy in there by himself, in the same row, but kind of on the other side a little bit. Why not sit next to him? That's risky too. You don't know who you pick and who you sit next to. What if I was like the Ted Bundy or something?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review Blue Beetle. As you saw from the title of this podcast, we're also going to be talking about some U.S. weekend box office, some movie news, movie trailers that we're going to react to, and National Cinema Day coming up on Sunday. Get your cheap movie tickets, so that's going to be fun. And of course, you can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or right here on YouTube. And follow us on social medias at Nerd Soup, at Beau Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey, on Instagram, on Facebook, on X. Are we allowed to call it that now?
I will never call it that.
A lot of people are calling it X. I don't know. I don't want to feel left out. Elon. And you can subscribe to our Patreon. We have some podcasts up there as well, some fan question podcasts. New episodes of the Beau Oliver podcast are going up this weekend. So if you're interested in that, check it out. It's only $1 to listen to those podcasts. Get it while it's only $1 because the price will go up eventually to maybe $1.50. And like I said, we're going to be reviewing Blue Beetle, so that's going to take up most of the time on this podcast. If you haven't seen it, well, I imagine a lot of people maybe haven't seen it. I guess you're just going to have to skip ahead to U.S. weekend box office. And Zack Snyder fans, we're going to be talking about Rebel Moon, and strike fans, we're going to be talking about the actors' writers' strike. So,
strike fans.
A lot of strike fans out there. And a lot of anti-strike people. You know, Brian Cox played Stryker in X-Men 2?
He seems like a guy. He's in a lot of stuff I don't know about. Like, oh, he was in this.
Yeah, he's
He
been
was in
popping up.
he was
Well,
in
he had
Troy.
been. Yeah, he was in Troy.
I always like that when like a new um not a new, but like you discover somebody, maybe an older actor in like a show or movie, then you go back and you realize he's like in some of the movies you've seen already.
Yeah, yeah. Like Gus in Breaking Bad, realizing that he was also in Do the Right Thing was pretty funny. You've seen him a million times, and that you never put two and two together when you see him in Breaking Bad. You're like, oh, who's this great new actor I've just discovered? Meanwhile, you've known him for years.
You know what I've been rewatching?
Suits?
The Sopranos.
Nice.
Having a good time with that. It is. You've said it before, but it might be the funniest show of all time. For a non-comedy, it is fucking hilarious.
That's a show that I don't even want to think about because I'll rewatch the entire thing.
I was just looking for something to watch, and I'm like, yeah, it's been so long, maybe like 10 years since I've watched it. Having a good time with it.
That's
Junior is
so
fucking hilarious, dude.
disrespectful to Better Call Saul. Yeah, Junior might be the best character on the show. Everything he says is hilarious. He's legit like Larry David.
He is.
Just always complaining about stupid shit.
I found a new respect because I remember when I first watched it, I fucking hated the mother, and she's not like a likable character. But now I think like I respect her as a character more this time around.
She's a great villain.
Yeah, AJ still sucks. I fucking hate that kid.
AJ stinks, but go easy on him. He's having a tough time. He has a tough time in later seasons. All
He
right,
just started as like I just got to the point like his angst is just starting. I'm like, ah.
Here we go, teenaged angst. So actually, I lied. Before we get into Blue Beetle, we're going to talk about some Dune news, some unfortunate news about Dune Part 2. We talked about this a few weeks ago on the podcast, or yeah, I think about 2 weeks ago, the possibility that Dune Part 2 would be delayed. And I guess that it wouldn't be delayed because I thought financially it didn't make sense to try and wait so that they can get actors on board for the promotion when they have this golden window, 6 weeks uninterrupted in IMAX. Most of the box office, or a large percentage of the box office for Dune Part 1 came from IMAX screens, so I thought it was just too good to give up. Warner Brothers has proven that they are ran by idiots, with one idiot in particular in charge. So Dune Part 2 has been pushed to March 15th, 2024, and as I suspected, they're not going to have that 6-week IMAX window because next March is a little bit more packed than this November is with blockbusters. Other Warner Brothers movies like Wonka, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and The Color Purple are still releasing in December. And that's another part of this story is that theater owners are really upset about the possibility of delays because they need these movies. They just got hit with COVID. People weren't obviously allowed to go to theaters. So they're still making up for that. So it's just one thing after another when it comes to Hollywood, pandemic, now the strikes, studios refusing to negotiate in good faith with the actors and writers. So, I mean, Aaron, I know this is probably devastating news for you.
No, it sucks. I mean, we kind of talked about it. Like, how do they weigh the promotion they get from their cast? I mean, looking at the Dune cast, it is one of the more, star-studded movies coming out. So I guess they felt like they really needed that. I honestly don't think it outweighs, like you said, that 6-week stretch of IMAX theaters, especially if they're going to have more competition in March. It just doesn't really seem to line up. And obviously with Oppenheimer and Barbie, that kind of happened. That press train was running before, the strike really had any effect. So it's hard to tell how much of an impact these strikes are going to have on box office numbers. But I don't know. I guess it's just something that the studio thought financially would benefit the film if they move it into March, which, it's kind of a weird situation, especially as fans, because I think everybody who is a fan of Dune and these type of movies to kind of take control of, it's like we saw it with the first Dune when it came out. Everyone wanted it to be successful at the box office, especially with a director like Denis Villeneuve, kind of want him to get recognition and inspire studios to give these type of directors the big budgets and take chances a little bit. So like from that standpoint, I want this movie to do as well as possible. So if that means moving it to March, just so it can get that kind of not only critical success, which we kind of expect, but financial as well, I guess that would be a positive of the situation. But obviously the negative is, having this movie everyone's been anticipating for since we've seen the first one move back 6 months down the line, which kind of sucks. But and just the reason behind the delay, because we all know what's going on with the strikes and everything. So yeah, just a shitty situation. Positive, it's like March, it's my birthday, like right around there. So if you were thinking of doing anything, I know you guys kind of dropped the ball on me last year with the Batman. I kind of was hinting at, renting out a theater, having a little birthday, getting that room, and nobody did that for me. You can do it for Dune now. So if you want to
Okay.
mark that,
You literally had
mark
a
that on your
30th
calendar.
birthday party celebration.
I wanted, that the little room. No one uses it. The little party room. We could do that now. So get the planning.
I just want to, on record, I went out of my way to attend your 30th, Teddy's 30th, and Nash's 30th. Did not get a single text from any of you on my 30th birthday.
I
So
think we do the day after.
just want that on record. Yeah, I guess I sort of appreciate that. Teddy
Uh,
Nash, I'm still waiting. But
well,
yeah, so
you didn't do anything for your birthday.
no, I didn't, but I would have appreciated a text. Just
Yeah,
friend to friend.
I honestly am. I'm very, very bad at knowing when my friends' birthdays are. The
Oh
group
yeah, so
chat
am I.
helps a lot because I just see what somebody else pop in the morning. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I guess that's a reminder. But I'm also of like the mindset, like my friend's birthday, 30th, was just 3 days ago, but she had a 30th birthday party like 2 weeks ago. So in my mind, like I already did the happy birthday stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like if it was maybe a couple of days the party was before, then you don't have to send the text, but 2 weeks.
Yeah. But like in my mind, like that, her birthday was that day. I don't know what the real day was.
Yeah, that's always weird.
Do you think it's because of, from the studio's perspective, the most important thing is, financial success? But do you like what do you think weighs heavier, the IMAX screens or getting to have that stats cast do their promotion? Because I think like even if you're like your two biggest stars right now are Chalamet and Zendaya, and I do think like their fan base is well aware of this movie, and people who have been anticipating it know this movie's coming out and are going to go see it regardless. They already kind of started the promotional train, so to kind of delay it and revamp that back up when everyone was kind of on board for this, I just don't think it makes that much of an impact moving it back.
Yeah, that's what the CEO of IMAX was trying to argue, that he felt that it didn't make sense for them to push it back if that was the reasoning, because it was so unique. Movies normally don't get that long of windows. And I think the word of mouth would have spread just to be in theaters on those screens for 6 straight weeks. It's unprecedented. So it would have been interesting to see how it would have worked out. And obviously we support the strikes. It is unfortunate that we didn't get a chance to see, if the strikes weren't going down, what the box office could have looked like if they had those actors on all the press, on the press tour, on all the shows, Hot Ones, Larry King. Well, no, Larry King's dead, R.I.P. How much that movie would have made, because the first one just got over 400 million. I think that this one could have done 600-700 million dollar numbers, something similar to Oppenheimer, but we'll never know. So now it goes back to March, and I guess it's something that we will never know how it would have done. I think it would have done well. I definitely think it would have outgrossed the first movie. I don't know the budgets. I don't know if the second one has a larger budget. I imagine it maybe does. It would have been a success. We'll see. And like I said, I don't have the movies in front of me, but I saw a tweet where they were talking about what's coming out next March. And I know the Godzilla sequel, Godzilla vs. Kong sequel, has been pushed back a month. That is also Warner Brothers. But as I said, the other movies are standing pat with their December release dates. And this Warner Brothers is now the second studio to push back their films. Sony pushed back Kraven the Hunter. The Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, doesn't even have a release date anymore.
Do you think like, so Marvel's obviously keeping the Marvels for that release and they're going to get the IMAX screen. Is that just them being like,
We're
our
Marvel.
brand is so much stronger and we just know people are going to come out regardless?
I think so, without
Like
a
if
doubt.
if Dune 1 came out and made 600 and 700 to 700, do you think they probably would have kept it? Because, 400, it's fine, but it's not nothing mind blowing. And obviously, that was still during the time of COVID. So there was definitely some impact there. And I think it was a pretty early-ish type of release to HBO Max. So maybe a lot of people waited on that for a bit, but
Oh yeah, for everything it had going against it, the fact that it made 400 million is very impressive. It's profitable. It's not one of these Marvel behemoths that is going to make you 500, 600 million dollars after you factor in budget, marketing budget. But I imagine it made a profit between 50 and 100 million. That sounds about right for a movie like that. $150 million budget. You imagine maybe 100 million for marketing, maybe less. I just don't. It's impossible to say. And when it comes to the strikes, they're saying this is a negotiating tactic. Well, we're just going to push back our movies. Eventually, that's going to hurt you because this is what we talked about a few weeks ago. If you keep chasing this unofficial deadline or unofficial end of the strikes, we don't know when this is going to end. And then there's reports coming out about they thought they were negotiating on Tuesday, and they met with some of the heads of the major studios, Bob Iger, David Zaslav from Warner Brothers, Bob Iger, obviously from Disney, and that the counteroffer was garbage. It basically just, I don't even know what they ended up conceding, but it wasn't enough. And everybody's like, oh, the studios are pushing back their movies because they're not compensating their writers fairly, which is true. But it's also from the writers and actors' perspectives. There's so many things that they have to take care of now, or else they're going to be back in this position sooner rather than later, because there's just so many shady things happening within the industry. And, now one of the studio heads anonymously came out and said, we're worried that if we give in, because, these are normal asks. This isn't so ridiculous. But if we give in, then we're going to have to give in around the world, because we're focusing on the actors and the writers who are unionized in America. But other countries are going to see this and say, hey, how come they get special treatment and we don't? Why? Because I'm a Brazilian actor or I'm a South Korean actor? Because, I imagine some of the actors and writers for Squid Game are like, hey, what about me? Like Squid Game season 2 is just business as usual. They can just keep fucking them over and not paying them. So that should happen, obviously, if you're, someone supporting the strikers. But we'll see. We'll see who blinks first, man. And I imagine it will be the studios.
We just need like an old mom to sit the two sides down. Like, when like family is fighting, the mom comes in and is like,
the matriarch's dead.
Cut the shit,
She died.
Damn.
Yeah, dad's got to figure it out. Dads, they don't have that soft touch like mom does, so everybody's fighting, throwing chairs.
Yeah, do you think there is some spite involved in this decision too?
I think so, yeah. I think there is a little bit. Because they're probably weighing it, thinking from their perspective, we'll be able to make this money in March. So here's a little fuck you to the actors, to the creators. But if they keep doing this, eventually they're going to hurt themselves. So yeah, maybe it, gives you, I don't know, more leverage, or, you're trying to treat the symptoms of the strike. There's no cure. The cure is you give in to what they want. So if you don't do that, like I said, sooner rather than later, you're just going to hurt yourself because you have to make money. Warner Brothers, we keep getting all these stories about how Warner Brothers is, they don't have enough money to put out a certain amount of movies anymore, that they're desperate for hits. So eventually you got to start putting shit out.
I wonder if because Dune 1 premiered Venice, then Toronto and New York. So I don't think it was going to, as we got closer to its original release, it didn't have any of those premieres. So maybe that was kind of always in the cards as well, because it seemed like, or made it an easier decision, because if it was scheduled to have the same kind of opening as the original one, then they kind of would have been cemented into that release as well. So I wonder if that has any impact of it all, especially being a movie that you would think that Warner Brothers would want to have an award contention. That kind of festival run with a end of the year release is the kind of formula for that type of success when it comes to nominations and wins. So you got to think about that release in March, how that's going to affect that aspect of it. Because we were kind of talking about too, like it kind of sucks for Villeneuve and everyone involved when you have to go up against some of the movies it would be going against this year. But I wonder if a March release impacts it just as much as going up against like an Oppenheimer and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I wanted to. Well, not even selfishly, because everybody's being selfish. So why can't I be selfish? I wanted to see what that would have looked like, Oppenheimer versus Dune Part 2, because they would have been head to head. And maybe not some of the major categories, because you never know with a movie like that who's going to get nominated for acting and directing. But the technical categories, I saw a lot of funny memes about the Oppenheimer team. Sigh of relief knowing that Dune's not going to
Yeah.
be there for sound and for some of those other categories. But now, the March release date, like you said, dude, when movies come out later in the year, they're on the minds of critics, and it's just good timing. So now coming out in March, it's not impossible, but it makes it less probable just based on history. I think it's going to be such a massive movie. The fan base, the online fan base especially, is just going to keep hammering home. It will be a disgrace if this doesn't get nominated, because that was Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. It came out early in the year. A lot of people said, this is great, but there's no way the Academy is going to remember it. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of the online fandom made sure that it stayed on the minds of people, and I think Dune Part 2 has a chance to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like out of the realm. I mean, we've seen, I feel like especially recently, a lot of movies have that kind of staying power from early in the year releases. So, and especially with a movie like Dune, I think it's something that it's going to be in discussion and people are going to talk about it for, you know, up until the end of the year, if not even further. So maybe it won't have that much of an impact, but we'll see. You got to see what else is coming out next year. But
Yeah, and I think Zendaya's movie, directed by Luca Guadagnino, Challengers, the tennis film, it was initially supposed to come out in a few weeks. Now it's been delayed to April. So she's had two of her 2023 releases delayed to months that aren't as favorable when it comes to being in an award contention.
hey, I mean, for us, like selfishly, like you said before, why not be selfish? Typically earlier in the year, you kind of don't get a lot of these great movies. So maybe 2024 can be nice and spread out throughout the whole year.
That is a glass half empty look if I've ever seen one, but
Yeah.
it sort of does work. Where it's like, oh, it's in the beginning of next year. It's not too far away.
They should move it to January if they really had balls.
I also think that would be smart, to be completely honest, or February, because people get too hung up in, if your movie's good, people are going to see it. Well, that's okay. That's an oversimplification. But I think if it comes out and it's got that word of mouth, it's got that big blockbuster appeal, I really don't think it matters where it releases. To be honest, I think May, June has become almost too risky for some of these movies that really want to hit. Like Dead Reckoning is a perfect example of a movie that should have came out in August.
Well, look at the Batman released in March. Dune's coming in March now. I think Logan was March. I feel like they're viewing March and that kind of window like as a profitable window.
This obviously doesn't factor into it, but just as a fan, I saw a lot of people saying Dune is more of a fall movie. The vibes are more set for autumn.
Is
So
that
that does
a
kind of bum
thing?
me out. I think it's a thing. It's like if they dropped a Christmas movie in July. I'm sure Teddy would be thrilled.
Yeah, but like Dune, if anything, it's a summer movie. Iraq is hot as hell.
Right, but I feel like the aesthetic of it, the orange aesthetic, the spice. Are you kidding me? Spice is huge during the autumn.
Pumpkin spice being back is making me very depressed.
It's philosophical, heavy. It's something you want to see when there's a nice breeze in the air. You
Mm.
walk out of Dune, you want to put on your coat, maybe go to the brewery. You walk out of Dune, it's hot as hell, and in real life, it's like, now I'm just sweaty. Can't go to
Yeah,
the brewery in this heat.
it's a great time to go to a brewery. Nice and a couple cold ones, a couple frosties.
Oh, God.
Why is like I've been seeing it all over 7-Eleven, Dunkin', the pumpkin spice is back. Can we just fucking finish summer already? This is like the adult version of back to school commercials.
It's gotten out of hand because
Well,
fall is now winter and now summer is fall. Nobody can fucking wait for anything. It's August. It's literally August 25th, dude. It's 80 degrees outside. It's humid as hell. I don't want a pumpkin spice latte. I want a goddamn slushy. I want a goddamn mango. Dip it in salt water. All right,
Mango
well,
with
you know what?
salt
That
water.
really does it for us talking about Dune. We're going to move on to the next topic, but it is unfortunate, but we will be watching in March. All right, before we move on to our review of Blue Beetle, we're going to take a quick break and shout out one of our sponsors for today's episode, and that would be DraftKings. Aaron, I know this is something that you've used.
I am the Draft King, some would say.
Holy shit.
College football fans, are you ready for week one? DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking you up with a can't miss offer to start the season strong. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Anything can happen in college football. Your team can go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple of years. Change comes fast. The only thing that's a lock is the great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. And life's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code NERDSOUP. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code NERDSOUP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.com/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after insurance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
All right, let's jump into Blue Beetle, the new film from DC. It is going to be the first film of James Gunn's DCU, although there have been some comments that make it seem like it's not going to be the first film in James Gunn's DCU, DC universe, film universe, whatever it is. Because on Wikipedia, it says it's the 14th installment in the DCEU. So there's some confusion there. Maybe they were waiting to see how it was going to do at the box office before they decided where it exists.
I mean, there's nothing in it that could, like, it could exist in both, I guess. But as far as, like, a jumping off point, like, it's no Iron Man when it comes to quality, but the character itself, like, I wouldn't mind seeing the character continue throughout this new phase of the DC EU.
Yeah, I found it to be a very entertaining, a really good start for this character, but we're also at a place where we've seen this type of origin story before. It is very similar to Iron Man, and it's got the similar tropes, the similar cliches, the same beats. You know, it does stand apart because there was more of an emphasis in this film on family. And I said on Letterboxd that it reminded me of Spy Kids in a good way. Not only that it was family oriented, but it was a little cheesy, a little dorky. I thought they did a good job portraying the family as earnest and sincere and goofy. You know, their inside jokes that they had with each other. I thought all of that was really funny. Zolo Maraduena, I love him in Cobra Kai. I thought he was perfect in this. He's got the baby-faced look of somebody who's just waiting to break out and become a teen idol. So I think that this movie, what it's going to be the best for is a jumping off point for his career. But I don't know. I imagine he will get another movie because if James Gunn has it his way, he says he wants this to be a trilogy. And as you said, it does exist in a place where it could be DCEU or it could be something different. They acknowledge that superheroes do exist in this world. But if it is going to be the first movie in the DCU, I guess that's what they're calling it, I think it's a good place to start because, like I said, the problem with this movie is that it's not showing you anything that much different from what we've already seen. So even if the movie is of good quality, it's funny, it's charming, some of the action sequences are well put together, I've still seen it before. That's how I feel. Like, I love the representation. I love the focus on the Mexican Hispanic heritage and how important that was to his character. And I imagine that a lot of people of Mexican descent, of Mexican American descent, watch this and they pick up on some of the inside jokes and some of the humor that they're only going to get. I thought they did a really good job of that. It feels like the superhero genre is just in desperate need of a radical shift. It's like the bar was set in 2008 with The Dark Knight, and people have approached that bar, but nobody's resetting it. Nobody's breaking it. Nobody's doing anything that's so radically different where everybody's like, we've never seen anything quite like that before. So even though I really enjoyed it, I can understand why the hype around it really isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's something that we've kind of seen before. They kind of played it safe in a lot of aspects. Yeah, I think once like it really maybe the second act and he becomes Blue Beetle and all of that, that's when I was kind of having fun with it. But yeah, it's nothing. There were a couple sequences though that I really enjoyed. I like the dream sequence with his father and stuff like that, but nothing really to set it apart from your basic superhero origin story. Um, and yeah, it is. It's a weird movie to kind of, even if you want to consider it part of the old. It's just. I mean, I guess it's one of the better DCEU movies when you kind of compare it to everything else, but it doesn't really do anything. I think that would warrant it to be considered like a top tier superhero movie. And as a jumping off point, it's kind of an underwhelming start for the new DCU if they go that route. So I kind of fear this movie is going to be in no man's land, which I do think if it was a more constructed universe and you kind of throw this in to help push forward a new era of younger heroes, I think that kind of would have been cool. But it's just unfortunate for where this movie came out and everything going on with that part of the studio. But as far as like Blue Beetle as a character, I do think there's a lot you could do with him, and he is like a fun character. It's kind of like you said, a lot of similarities to Iron Man, not just that it's a mechanical suit and all that stuff, but as far as some of the story points, but also some of that Spider-Man type charm and quippiness to the character that I think was a nice blend. And I've always liked the character. What was it? I think it was Young Justice or one of those animated series.
Yeah, I think it's Young Justice.
That was my first introduction, and I've always liked the character since then. So for the most part, it did a good job of introducing a lot of people to this character. I think a lot of stuff surrounding it was a little faulty. I thought the family was. I thought it was a good foundation, but nothing really more than that. The love interest was kind of whatever. The villain, I don't know, Susan Sarandon.
Awful.
Yeah.
Clearly a role that should have went to Sigourney Weaver. It's like Sigourney Weaver wasn't available.
Yeah.
It was just weird. It was a weird performance.
I mean, Sigourney Weaver, I mean, Meryl Streep, you put anyone in that role, I don't think it's getting elevated that much.
But like the speech that she was giving her henchmen, I could see Sigourney Weaver nailing that type of speech, where she's trying to placate you a bit while also intimidating you, telling you, I still hold the leash. You still work for me. You're not your own person. You're my property. Even something as basic like that, Sigourney Weaver, that's just in her wheelhouse. She's been cast in that type of role. Like when she was in The Defenders, she was the main villain for Defenders. Not a great character, but she's great at delivering those sort of cliched lines.
But it was
I don't know what Susan Sarandon was doing here.
But even like character itself, I felt like it was just very
super generic,
surface level. Like even the thing with her forgetting her worker's name and stuff like that, it's just very surface level, like bad person. There was nothing more to her, I guess, wickedness that would have made it a little bit more interesting or a little bit more dramatic when it came to the final moments towards the end. And even the henchmen, very generic, mean, like once he's on the screen the first time, like, oh, that's kind of a bad guy. And they telegraph his like, I guess, hero moment, like early on, which never really came to a surprise. I knew that was coming. So there just wasn't a lot there when it came to like the antagonist portion of the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you just know is going to happen, that eventually he's going to see the light. I did appreciate that moment where Blue Beetle is shown this character's past. I thought that was a little different, but a lot of it is just your run-of-the-mill superhero genesis story. But I like going back to Susan Sarandon, not to get so hung up on that, I thought her actual acting was bad in the scenes that she was in. Not only was the character written poorly, and I think that a lot of times a better actor, not necessarily saying she's a bad actress, but I don't know if anybody like actually filled her in on what she was actually doing. She seemed totally out of it. But like the guy who played what's his name? I guess Ignacio, that was the henchman's name.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the way they portrayed his power and how he's sacrificed his body in order to become this, the OMAC prototype. I did feel sympathy for that character because he was so fucked up. And that's another thing I appreciated about the powers, is you actually felt like it was hurting Hame and also the henchmen. That this is something that it's more of a burden than it is a gift until you sort of figure it out. That's another thing that I thought the movie would have benefited from is less of the superhero stuff. Obviously, you can't do that because it's a superhero movie, and more just focusing on Hame and his family and their struggles and what they're dealing with in their own lives, because that's the stuff that's relatable. That's the stuff that can inspire an audience. But it is a superhero story, and I think that's why when you're introducing characters these days, maybe it would benefit these storytellers just starting in the middle. Like, he's already got his powers, he's already doing his thing as Blue Beetle, and then you can show us something different.
Right, because I feel like the foundation of the family setting and their environment, it was very much told to us, and I never really felt like I was in that environment with them, like really getting deep into their family life and all the struggles that they've come through. It was kind of like surface level when it came to that. And like you said, when you do have to establish all these other things with the origin story, it doesn't really leave that much time. You know, you're already facing a 2 hour window here. So I think it could have benefited from that, because some of the better moments of the movie is when his relationships with his sister, with his uncle, and the rest of his family members.
I did enjoy, there were a couple of small things that I enjoyed about the family dynamic, like the opening. He's coming back having already graduated. They didn't get to go see the graduation because that's something maybe that they can't afford. So they have
Right.
to celebrate it when he comes back home. Or even a small moment in the beginning of the movie when he's sitting down with his dad in the front yard and they're talking about their destinies. I appreciated those smaller little moments that you could skip over. A studio exec would see that and say, why don't we cut that? Well, it's important to establish this relationship between father and son. And then even the way, getting into spoilers here, when Hame's dad dies, that caught me by surprise as well, because I had forgotten about the heart problems he was having. So
Well,
normally
that's
it's the villain kills your father in front of you, but this felt a little bit more realistic. It's such a shocking thing to experience that he ends up having a heart attack. And I love how they kept the family. Everything felt very small. Like, what they were being thrust into was just so big and out of this world, but they remained this small family unit that really just wanted no part of this. It felt like
well,
the bullshit really came to their front door and they had to deal with it together. And sorry to keep cutting you off, but another moment, like when the grandmother isn't ready to mourn, when she's the one who kind of does the group huddle at the top of the foul line and says, this is what we need to do before we can process our grief. I thought that there were a couple of smaller moments with the family that really hit hard for me emotionally. And Rudy was great.
well, I think they could have done more with that.
Yeah, they could have cut out the superhero stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous to say in a superhero movie, but because like I do think like when the father did die and all that, like I they had that one scene, but it was almost like the relationship was more focused on like him and his uncle. And obviously George Lopez, such a big name, and he was a big part of the movie. But I wish we would have got more of him and his father leading up to that moment. You
See,
know,
I thought they did a good job just little moments showing us how important his father was to him. Like, you learn a lot about the dad when he leaves the 25% tip. This guy's about to lose his house, but he still wants to give back. And even when he's out there
yeah,
on the front porch, just taking it moment by moment, day by day, not thinking too far in the future, and how that impacts his son to do the same thing. But yeah, there definitely could have been more depth to those relationships. I'm not saying that it's the best portrayal of a family unit, but for what they managed to get out of it, I thought it was enough, for me at least.
yeah, and I think that goes to like a lot of these superhero movies when I do think there is an audience that would like kind of a stripped down superhero movie where maybe the focus really isn't too much on the superhero stuff. And I do think when you look at a lot of the upper echelon type superhero movies, you realize that it is more character stuff rather than, what everyone expects from these big budget movies. And I mean, speaking of like budget, it's, what was it, just over 100 million. I'm not sure how well it's going to do financially, but I was kind of impressed what they were able to do with their money. we talk a lot about how these bloated budgets, and we go see the movie and it kind of looks like ass. I thought this one actually looked pretty well.
Oh, I thought Palmyra City was awesome. I love the design of it. It looked like it was a combination between Miami and Texas. You had the neon lights, the palm trees, had a lot of tropical personality to it. It felt like a world that exists inside of a comic book and
No, I
now
love
a comic book movie.
yeah, like even them in their community, and then looking over at this big, bright neon city, and kind of the contrast that shows just how neglected not only their family is, but their entire community.
Right.
And you touched upon things such as like gentrification and whatnot, and yeah, like I think that was a important contrast to show just where this family is coming from and who these people actually are and what they've had to fight for to be in a position they are. And that's like when you talk about, his father dying, obviously that's sad, and we see it time and time again, that kind of origin story, but just as impactful, like their house burning down. We did, like you said before, they're trying their best just to hold on to what they have, and something like that I thought was like very devastating as a
Yeah.
viewer.
I wonder if that was a Tarkovsky reference, but I was impressed by the directing overall by Angel Manuel Soto. I think this is his directorial debut, but for the most part, I thought it was very well directed. I think the action could have been better. You have these characters with all these incredible powers. I'm like watching him when he does the fight scene when he wants to save his sister, and he's got the legs coming out of his back. I'm like, yo, why isn't this guy crawling on walls like a fucking demon beetle and just jumping on people and ripping? I just can't imagine directing a superhero movie and not trying to get the most out of the action. Because some of the fights were okay, but it's just like, man, you guys don't have any imagination. And I know that's a lot of it's not on the director these days. They usually have like a fight coordinator, but just like put on some good action movies and steal some shit, or let them be what they say they are. Like you're a giant blue beetle, act like an animal, because the music comes on and it's supposed to be his big moment. And I'm just like, this is okay. I'm never going to search this up on YouTube, like Blue Beetle versus Ignacio, and be
Yeah,
like,
what
man,
was
this
it?
fight was great.
The Motley Crue needle drop.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I was expecting, like, all right, now shit's gonna happen, and it was just like this bug ship crawling around, and it was like death mode or like some badass like crazy mode, and he was just like crawling around a little bit.
You know what? I did like the giant bug ship, but that definitely could have been better. I think George Lopez was having such a good time that every time he was on screen, I just enjoyed whatever was happening. Like, look at this guy living on his brother's couch, and he's able to pilot this giant beetle ship tank thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Like,
Well, the
especially
tech
with
overall, like going back to the Spy Kids reference, I felt like the inspiration was there with the old tech. Obviously, Ted Cord being a hero, I guess, in the 80s or 90s, so his stuff is going to look a little dated. But I like how they brought that to 2023, where the tech that they were using was a little goofy, and it looked like something that maybe you'd see in a episode of an old Star Trek. I wish they would have went further into that, the goofiness, the cheesiness of those Spy Kid movies. It's like they were playing with it, they were touching on it, but they wouldn't fully embrace it. Like one joke that I loved when he brings home the box, and and he's like, she told me not to open it, and they just all start chanting, open it, open
the
because you know that eventually it's going to happen. And the way that they were just all fucking with each other, I really appreciated. But even the grandma, when they realized that she was a gorilla fighting against a government, I thought that shit was funny, dude. She was calling the shots. She was game planning.
yeah, I thought that was a little wacky.
Something straight out of
Which,
Spy Kids. It's just you don't know who your parents truly are. In this case, your grandparents, until they really show you. So I thought that was funny.
yeah, I mean, revolutionary or not, every grandma's breaking their hip trying to hold that fucking gauntlet gun.
That was a little, I was like, the fact that she's walking around with it, like Hami couldn't even say, let me grab that for a second. Because if I had to lug that around for a day, I'm not getting out of bed for like a week. Like me right now. I guess she's just
Yeah,
built different.
yeah, I guess so. Not with your back issues.
Oh no, dude. I would have been, I couldn't even pick that up.
It was very hit or miss, some of the comedic moments. I did enjoy George Lopez. He did look like he was just having a great time.
I thought it was so funny when he walked in on the kiss and Hame backs up and goes, her mom died.
Yeah, that was. I got a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah, and the love stuff, very generic. I thought she was charming though, as an actress. I guess we haven't really. I haven't seen her in anything before.
Just dating a billionaire. That's pretty sick.
Oh yeah, well that's not going to go over well. They're going to break up next movie. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, but you're still Blue Beetle, so
Yeah, I guess that's kind of nice.
I'm tired of these broke superheroes like Spider-Man, Blue Beetle. Say what you will about the boys. Like, at least they're getting paid. They're getting some of that ad money. They should go on strike.
I don't think they have a union. You need a union to go on strike.
Superhero union, I'll have that shit.
Also, I don't think nobody's paying them. You can't go on strike. They're going to demand more money from no one.
Just stop saving the day. See how things go.
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, so no more Joker tying a nuclear bomb to the Statue of Liberty?
Batman doesn't need money.
You're trying to watch Letterman, and all of a sudden you hear, hello, Batman. Like, oh my God, this fucking guy.
People calling Batman a scab for stopping the Joker from nuking Gotham.
Oh yeah, the Batman would never go on strike. Yo, you know what's funny? How mad people get when they call Batman a fascist.
I saw someone say, I forgot what the tweet was. It was just one of those that you'd brush by, but you kind of read it a little bit. And it was like someone getting mad because someone included Batman in ACAB.
I mean, listen, based on what Batman does, there's an argument for it. I'm not saying he is a fascist. I'm just saying, it's not so ridiculous.
He did go to Gotham University. I wonder if he's friends with Victor Stone.
Batman doesn't have friends.
No, I mean.
Oh, he went to Gotham University? Oh, that's funny.
He was wearing like a Gotham sweatshirt, I think.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. Well, any last thoughts on Blue Beetle overall? I mean, I had a good time with it. And I think that if you enjoy these stories, like if you're someone who's familiar with Blue Beetle or if you just like superhero stuff, I think this does enough to entertain your average superhero fan. But it's not going to break the doors off of the box office as we're seeing. It's not going to be something that radically shifts the superhero genre, which I think really needs to happen if this genre wants to stay fresh. But yeah, I thought it was I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, so I really did enjoy it.
No, I didn't log it yet. Probably go at like 3.
I think enjoyable. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big problem is just wrong place, wrong time. I said on the last podcast, if this comes out 5 to 10 years ago, when it's a bit fresher, because we haven't seen as many of them. Even 10 years ago, we've still seen a lot. But I think this comes out, and Xolo Maridueña, a lot of people just enjoy him as the lead character, and it's something a little bit different. But like I said, we've seen it at this point so many times. It's hard to just keep getting people to come out and embrace this type of story, which is a shame because, it feels like maybe we're not at the end, but we've gone over the peak of superhero films. And now it's like, we get the Latino lead when we're near the end. 40 movies fucking later. And it's the same thing with, movies with female superheroes in the lead or people of color in general. Now we're starting to get those stories when people are growing tired of it. So it's a little unfortunate in that regard.
Yeah, it's when you look at this, The Flash, Shazam for DC, even if you want to look at Marvel, it does seem that these aren't as sure things as they used to be, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I have no desire to watch Secret Invasion. Even with like Ahsoka, I might give that a try, but I don't think I finished Mandalorian. And it all kind of just ties together, man. It is a shame, but hopefully we just need something to kind of really kickstart this back up. Or maybe not. I mean, people will probably say, good, fuck these type of movies, the superhero genre. But yeah, I just really like, even looking at the Mission Impossibles and the John Wicks, like you were talking about action sequences, like I feel like if you gave, some of these brilliant action directors a Blue Beetle type character or any of these, like, do you let their imagination just run wild of what they could do and make something super exciting and these well put together action pieces. It could just elevate it to another level, but it almost seems like a lot of times that's just an afterthought.
Yeah, I think John Wick is a good example of a movie that came out, made for only $30 million, made $86 million at the worldwide box office. Not a huge return, but it made a profit. And the second one comes out and it makes a little bit more. And the third one comes out and it makes a little bit more. And the fourth one comes out and it almost makes $500 million worldwide. So I think that Hollywood has certainly lost its patience. But the people at the top, they just don't see movies like producers used to see them 30, 40 years ago, or maybe even not that long ago. Where, yeah, the producer wanted to make money, but there was also an appreciation for the process and an understanding of the process of how good movies are supposed to be told. It was more of a collaboration between the producers and the creators to get the best possible film. But now it's everything's ran like it's an algorithm. Check this box, check this box, check this box, the movie will sell itself. So that's why you're seeing these continued bloated budgets, and these movies aren't making their returns. And later in the pod we're going to talk about the Rebel Moon trailer. That's a movie that was made for about $80 million, and it looks so much better than these shows Disney is putting out for $200 million. So it's like you can make something that looks better for $150 million cheaper in some cases. It's just simple. Just math. All right, before we move on to the next topic, we're going to take a quick break and shout out one of our sponsors, and that's going to be First Leaf.
Well, summer's here, which means it's time to kick back with friends and family. And what better way to get reconnected with those you love than by drinking wine? That's why I have First Leaf. As America's most personalized wine company, First Leaf takes the worry and guesswork out of buying quality wines. Just answer some specific questions about your wine likes and dislikes on First Leaf's website.
Yeah, I recently showed up to my brother-in-law's party with some wines I got on First Leaf, another 6 bottles, and I was the hit of the party. They were like, wow, you spent so much, you're so generous, and they didn't know I got the First Leaf deal.
I'm glad they let you use those for yourselves. I'm still a sucker going to a wine store paying top dollar for a shitty wine. Maybe if I showed up to my next family gathering or First Leaf, my parents will be proud of me for once.
All right, why don't you stop getting into your feelings and just finish the spot?
Every selection is backed by First Leaf's 100% satisfaction guarantee, with each bottle priced lower than what you would pay at a wine store. You even get to choose when to receive your wine, and those hand-selected bottles will be delivered to your door within a few days. So give First Leaf a try. Head over to tryfirstleaf.com/nerdsoup to sign up and save 50% on your first 6 hand-curated bottles plus free shipping. That's tryfirstleaf.com/nerdsoup to save 50% on your first 6 bottles plus free shipping. Try firstleaf.com/nerdsoup.
All right, let's move on to U.S. weekend box office. So coming in at number 1, dethroning Barbie after Barbie was number 1 in its 4th consecutive weekend, was Blue Beetle with $25 million domestically. Domestic total is $25 million as well, and worldwide it opened to $45.8 million. So $100 million budget. It's got a little ways to go before it reaches that mark. Hopefully it can break even and make as much profit as it possibly can, because I like the cast of characters and I love the lead actor. And I want to see him get a sequel, because so many other shitty movies have gotten sequels. Why not Blue Beetle? Number 2 was Barbie. $21 million in its 5th weekend, just keeps racking up that money. Domestic total is at $566. Worldwide, it's at $1.283 billion. Number 3, Oppenheimer, with another $10 million, raising its domestic total to $285. Worldwide, it's at $722 million. Number 4 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, made $8 million. Domestically, it's at $88 million. Worldwide, it's at $120. So that's another movie that I hope keeps climbing, because it's a movie that I really enjoyed. And Strays came in at number 5, so I guess Blue Beetle was the one to pick there. Domestically, it made $8 million. Worldwide, it's at 11.3 off of a $46 million budget. Interesting. Did we pick between us, Blue Beetle or Strays?
I thought that was like a bit.
Yeah, I was just wondering, though, if we ever went through with it.
No, I picked Blue Beetle, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that Oppenheimer is now the 5th highest grossing R-rated movie ever. It's only behind The Matrix Reloaded, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, Joker. And movies that it's right above are The Hangover Part 2, Logan, The Passion of the Christ, and the Chinese film Detective Chinatown 3, which sounds amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Oppenheimer didn't lose this bet. I just want to put that out there. Barbie just beat it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I never really got that when they say that on sports talk TV, but now I sort of do understand it.
And it is crazy. I mean, for all the reasons people have told me why it's such a stupid bet, when you look at the numbers and what it's been able to do, it's like, if I had to go back, I'd do it again. That's another thing I don't understand from sports talk. It's like, oh, I would have called the same play in that situation. And it's like, well, then you would have, why? That's insane, because you lost and it didn't go well. But it just goes to show like what just the power, like just the name Nolan has. Because I think if you, and I guess everything surrounding it was, and like the reviews and audiences alike, but I mean, if I don't know, if a lesser director, maybe not even lesser, but less well known director made a Oppenheimer biopic, I don't think it's just getting the same buzz.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. Everybody talks about the Barbenheimer campaign and the marketing campaign of Barbie also helping Oppenheimer because the two movies were just inseparable for so many months with the way people were talking about and having fun with the idea of both of them coming out. But I think having Nolan's name on it, it certainly helps. He's a director that sells movies. It's that name, directed by Christopher Nolan, director of The Dark Knight, Interstellar. These are huge movies in the consciousness of general audiences. Everybody kind of knows, not everybody, but he's probably the most famous director, younger director working today.
Look at the other R-rated movies to reach these heights. I mean, Deadpool, obviously, that was another like internet type marketing campaign to even get that movie made. But just the R-rated superhero movie, Ryan Reynolds, Merc with the Mouth, had all that going for it. Definitely gauging interest. Joker, one of the more iconic characters in the whole superhero genre. Matrix, big name, coming off of Reloaded is which one is that? Second or third?
I think that's the second, yeah.
Okay. But just the success of the first movie, that compounding into the hype going into the second one, and then Jesus, probably one of the biggest brand names out there. And who can forget Detective Chinatown 1 and 2, you know? All that goodwill those movies created. So for Oppenheimer coming in to that kind of stratosphere, oh yeah, and Logan, which it's fucking Wolverine. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I wonder if this stigma around R-rated movies not being able to make, and it's not there yet, but I wonder if studios will continue to keep taking chances. Even little things like Disney willing to go R for Deadpool 3, I think is a step in the right direction when it comes to bigger studios investing in not the safe PG-13 PG projects.
Yeah, and Oppenheimer shouldn't have been rated R. I guess it was because of the few shots of Florence Pugh. But I can't remember anybody cursing in that movie. I think it's really just because of the nudity.
Yeah, no, it was that, and when Oppenheimer gives Einstein the calculations that the Earth might explode, he was just like, yo, fuck. I think that cost him.
That was very, very memorable. All of a sudden, the German accent went away.
PG-13, how much more money would it have made? And was it worth the
I think there's an argument to be made that it could have pulled in another like 25 maybe, but nothing huge, because I feel like that wasn't the determining factor for a lot of people seeing this or not seeing it. I can't imagine, when we get the numbers back for the demographic, I'm going to assume it leans heavily male and older.
But there was also a rumor going around, which is quite funny, that there was like a 20-minute sex scene. And like people actually bought it. And I wonder if people are like, oh, I can't take my 13, 14, 50-year-old child to this movie.
Dude, the talk around Florence Pugh being naked in this movie has been so funny. This back and forth over sex scenes in movies, whether or not they're necessary. It's one of the funniest discourses that's ever happened on the internet.
Yeah, and I don't know if it takes away from the movie without those scenes. Like, would we view Oppenheimer differently? But I think it wasn't anything. I mean, we've seen so many more egregious, just sex scenes just to have a sex scene. That doesn't really add anything to the story. And like, also, who really cares?
Right.
Unless it's just so egregious and it's just out of nowhere. Like, there's a funny fucking Always Sunny bit when they're remaking Lethal Weapon, and one of Frank's stipulations is that they just have a out of nowhere, it's just a sex scene, and it's like sweaty and disgusting, and it's so fucking funny.
Yeah, sometimes they can be inappropriate, I guess, and a bit male gazy. I think there are a couple of movies that have that problem, but for the most part, it feels like movies have become more and more sexless, that movies are becoming more prude. It's just funny to see people, one of the TikToks from some girl, it's like, I wanted to take my boyfriend to go see Oppenheimer, but I can't because of the Florence Pugh nudity. And we're just recovering. 2 years ago, I caught him watching porn, and it was this traumatic event in our relationship, and we're just starting to get back from that. I was like, this has to be parody.
No, yeah, those are just weird people, I think.
Fair. All right, well, that's the
Um,
U.S. weekend box office. We're going to move on to the Zack Snyder Rebel Moon trailer.
Imagine unironically seeing like a couple, like the woman just like a little child over her husband's eyes when the sex scene comes, just blocking it off.
Don't look. There's boobies on screen. But she lets him look when it's just Oppenheimer cross-legged. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, if we want to talk about equality, I mean, Oppenheimer should just be fucking man spreading right there. Just laying it all out there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem comfortable. All right, Rebel Moon trailer. We mentioned this earlier in the podcast. Only took $80 million to put this movie together. There hasn't been a Zack Snyder trailer that I've watched and not loved. But what usually happens is the movie comes out and then I don't love the movie. It feels like he's the best director ever at directing movies that are perfect to cut a great trailer. Because everything in this trailer just seemed awesome. Like the stupid Anthony Hopkins voiceover of, are you watching the trailer right now for the first time? That's good stuff. The voiceover was fun and stupid, and Sofia Boutella, it seems like she was in everything like 4 years ago, and then she sort of disappeared, so it's fun to see her in the lead again. It's got a stacked cast. It's got Ray Fisher, that one guy who I love that's always popping up and stuff, Charlie Hunnam. He's not the one guy I love. Jenna Malone. Who's the guy that I'm thinking of? Oh, Digimon Hanso. So, like I said, Ed Skrein. He was the main villain in the first Deadpool, and he was also Dario in Game of Thrones, the original Dario, Hot Dario. So yeah, December 22nd. It is part 1. I think the second one is called The Scar Giver, which is horrible. That's a horrible, horrible title. But Rebel Moon is cool. I like the creatures, like the ships, like the settings. Hopefully, it's good. Did I talk enough for you to finish the trailer?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't really watch the trailer. It's not on the outline, so that's a you thing. It just says, "Oh yeah, Rebel Moon trailer." But you usually have like a little thing. There's no link for me to click. How am I supposed to find this trailer?
I mean, I figured you'd watch the trailer when it dropped on X.
What do you?
Everybody was watching it. You're a big Zack Snyder guy.
Am I the Snyder guy?
On this podcast, yeah, by default, you're the Snyder guy.
Oh man, I thought Teddy was the Snyder guy.
Teddy is battle rapper guy. That's all that kid watches and sends me clips from battle rapping.
Well, I do think it's not like you said. Like he does put together. I still can't get over that Batman vs Superman trailer. That was supposed to be a masterpiece.
10 years ago, Batman, Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. Look how time flies.
I remember that I was moving into my college apartment when that happened. And I had no internet, no TV yet, so I was just very online on my phone, looking at all the reactions. And like where it is today, and like the whole Batfleck fandom, you wouldn't think, but it was a fucking very divisive casting.
Oh yeah, dude, it was. I'll never forget how much I hated that casting.
You want to hear a joke?
Sure.
They should have casted Matt Damon as Robin.
Oh wow, that's funny. Yeah, they're buddies. They haven't been in a movie together for a long time. Well, Air. Yeah, I guess it was Air.
I got the jokes. Well, we do talk about, like, even what we're talking about with Blue Beetle, I do respect Zack Snyder. Snack Snyder was what I call him when no one's around.
Live your truth.
Like his will, or his just ability or willingness, like give an effort to try to do something that's not what we're accustomed to.
Yeah, I'll give him that. He'd be trying.
Yeah, and it's like I respect the effort at least, because very easily he could do generic things, and like it doesn't always hit. It does for some people, and for others it is really it doesn't work out as well. But I do think he's someone who does have a vision, and like it or not, he's going to try to create what he wants to create. And I do think that, like, my fucking mic fell. I do think he gets like this reputation that isn't necessarily warranted, and it does come from a lot of the like quote unquote Snyder Bros and things like that. That he's just this almost Michael Bay type director, where I do think he is
not nearly as good.
Well, you're the Michael Bay guy of the
Michael
podcast.
Bay is hit or miss, without a
You're in
doubt.
the Bay Hive.
When he's awful, he is just unwatchable. But when he's good, I mean, I loved Ambulance. That was one of my favorite movies of last year. That was a great time, dude. And also Pain and Gain. I love the first Transformers, The Rock. I would argue he's got better movies than Zack Snyder when you put the filmographies up against each other. Michael Bay is they're different because Zack Snyder, like you said, he is very earnest in his approach. Conceptually, I prefer Zack Snyder, but he just can never deliver. It was like that zombie movie that came out last year. Oh, we're going to do a heist in the middle of a zombie apocalypse in Las Vegas. I'm like, yeah, keep going. What else? And then you watch it, it doesn't have any of the pizzazz or the style that you would expect from something like that. To be like, if Michael Bay was making that movie, I think it would have been better. But Michael Bay is he's inclined to make shit like Pain and Gain, which turned out to be good. But when you hear it, it's just that kind of sounds stupid. Or what else stupid shit has Michael Bay done recently?
Well, I do think he's another one who gets locked in, and I kind of just sit it there to the big stupid action movies. But I do think there's still a skill to what he does. There obviously is a lot of bad too, but he's another one where I think there are definitely some better movies in there that kind of just get lost sometimes when you do think of his filmography as a whole. Bro, remember Pearl Harbor? That kind of sucked, actually. To take that back. Shout out Ben Affleck, though.
It's okay. I think Pearl Harbor's... Isn't Cuba Gooding Jr. in there? He's never been in a bad movie. Come on.
What's the movie when he was...
The
Cuba Gooding was the scuba diver?
Men of Honor?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he had to do the walk.
Yeah.
That was crazy, dude. Michael Rappaport's in that movie.
Oh, no.
This fucking guy thinks he's a master diver.
But that's coming off of Armageddon, which was a fucking massive hit. Everyone was probably like, yo, Pearl Harbor's about to fucking slap. You know what I like to do when I look through directors' filmographies? The music videos they've done.
Oh, yeah, that's always fun.
Like Meatloaf. He's done a lot of Meatloaf, Michael Bay. He also directed the Aaron Burr commercial for the Got Milk. You ever see that one?
No.
When it's like a radio, it's like, all right, let's go for the radio sweepstakes. For the prize. Who killed Alexander Hamilton? And the guy's like, oh, because he's eating. He didn't have any milk to clear his throat, and he couldn't get the answer right.
Why are commercials so creative sometimes?
I've always said this, and you guys never are on me with this, but a good commercial is...
Well, they're so few and far between. That's the problem.
Yeah, but when you get a good one, it makes you appreciate it even more.
What was I going to say here? Oh, like David Lynch doing all those coffee commercials in Japan. And that PlayStation 2 commercial, did you see that? That was going viral on X?
No. Stop saying X.
He was supposed to direct Black Skinhead, the Kanye song.
David Lynch?
Yeah, but apparently they couldn't come. There were creative differences that they couldn't overcome.
Yeah, Zack Snyder, ZZ Top, Rod Stewart, My Chemical Romance, Morrissey. Fincher did a lot of music videos too.
Yes, he did. I think David Fincher did Suit and Tie?
Hell yeah. Who did the Single Ladies video? They should get
Alejandro
$100
Inarritu
million to make a movie.
Yeah, that was Inarritu, the one take. He's like, I've never seen a shot that needed one take more than this one. This is perfect. Just keep the camera on them. Kanye was so right to interrupt Taylor Swift about her winning that over Beyonce.
Don't say it. Easy. Watch it. You're going to get jumped by the fucking Snyder cult and the Swifties?
All right, let's move on to some fan questions. We haven't taken fan questions in a few weeks, so figured we'd take a few before we wrap this up.
That's for the fan to decide.
Yay! People, you call up to the show, you better be ready. That's what you're supposed to do. Sitting there arguing and you're trying to spell your name and all of this other stuff. It's not your show, it's my show. I'm giving you the opportunity to speak your mind. Don't call up here unless you got something to say.
All right, this question here from _Logan_Jones_. If you could recast one character in Dune, who would it be, if anyone?
I'm trying to think back. I don't think anyone was bad in their role, right? So I guess I'd have to think of someone who would be better in that role.
I would recast Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck, and I would replace him with someone who's just bigger, like a bigger body, a meatier guy. Because Gurney Halleck is... No, Gurney is supposed to be fat. He's supposed to be like your traditional fat warrior. He's out of shape, but if you step to him, he's still going to put hands on you and put you in the dirt. So I think like even an
What's
actor like Don Lee, who's not necessarily, he's not fat, but he's big boned. He's like a big husky guy. I think he would have been perfect. He's the dude in Eternals who plays Angelina Jolie's like boyfriend.
yeah, that guy's fucking jacked.
Yeah, but he's also like, he's big, you know, he's like beefy.
Yeah, like a power lifter.
Right. Like if you told him, hey, put on another 20 pounds and then that'd be perfect for Gurney.
What does anyone not like Chalamet as Paul Atreides? Like
Well,
book people?
Marissa always complains that he seems too weak to be Paul Atreides. But no, it feels like most people who have read the books really love him. I think
What's he
everybody
described
agrees.
as in the book? Is he kind of like that type?
It's pretty spot
Like
on.
not imposing?
Yeah, he's supposed to, well, he's younger. He's only 15. So he's got the body of a 15-year-old. But yeah, I feel like Chalamet fits that character perfectly.
You see Chalamet in that I don't know what it is. I guess that lake.
Oh yeah, he's like in a sewer, right? They're doing a photo shoot in a sewer.
It's not a sewer. It's just like a mountain.
He's like at
with like
Sesame Place, Sesame Street.
He looks like he's in Gollum's little lair.
Oh right, yeah. People have been making fun of that, right?
The funny one is like he looks like he's about to ask me what's in its pockets, precious. Good old Timmy.
Good question here from Thomas_Lynn. What's with the trend of hiring creators that actively dislike the source material? Witcher, Halo, Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, to name a few.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily like a hatred or their intention is to spit on the source material. Like, I don't know much about The Witcher, but I know a lot of Witcher fans aren't too thrilled about the adaptation. We heard a lot of that with Rings of Power. Does it come from an egotistical, I guess, a place? Like when it comes to that, like, yeah, I like the source material, but if it was me, I would have done this, I can make this better, even though I already like it.
I think so, yeah. I think it could be a little bit of that.
And there's also what studios want and stuff like that. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. And even look at Lord of the Rings. I mean, a lot of Tolkien heads aren't too thrilled with his adaptation. A lot of them fucking hate it.
Right.
So I think...
Well, you also have to take that with a grain of salt because it's the same thing with the new Star Trek. And as somebody who's watched the original Star Trek and the Next Generation, the things they complain about are so nerdy and annoying. And some of them, yeah, I can agree with, but the way they talk about the movie, that they hate it because of those changes that they've made or things that they leave out, it never makes or breaks it for me. Like the problems I have with the new Star Trek is just the problem I have with all modern blockbusters, where they're just not allowed to be as smart as they once were because they think that audiences can't withstand that anymore. When you hear about the Lord of the Rings book readers hate the movies, I'm like, I imagine it's over something so petty and stupid, and they just can't appreciate what they got, that the adaptation is that good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something where I think everybody has their own interpretation or view of something that comes from source material, that it's really hard to, I think, balance between, and it's been done, and I think that's kind of the projects that we see kind of stand out. But when you're trying to be faithful to the source material and the fans of that source material while also introducing it to a new, wider audience. But like, we talk about it with video games a lot, and some of the projects that have been adapted in those scenarios, you would want people who you think played the game and have appreciation for the story instead of kind of coming into it not really knowing the source material and kind of just going off of what they view it as from a place of just coming into it. And like, I guess a good example would be like Assassin's Creed or something like that. But adapting it's tough. Especially when maybe your vision doesn't really align with what the studio's vision is, or like I said before, the fans of whatever property that may be.
Yeah, I mean, even the first 4 seasons, sorry to cut you off, first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. I was going
to get into Game of Thrones too, yeah.
Right. Very acclaimed, but they had to make some changes. It wasn't adapted verbatim. There were characters who were left out, plot lines that were left out, and fans of the book used to complain about it all the time. They fucking hated Game of Thrones before everybody else did.
Yeah, it's like always funny to me too when people shit on D&D. It's like, oh, well, they're just good at adapting. Like, that's not fucking hard enough to begin with.
Right.
I'm not like defending them for the later seasons or whatnot, even though I do think they were given, a tough deal with not having anything to adapt anymore. And kind of, we can go on and on about George's writing or lack thereof. But
if only HBO wanted to give them more time and money to really flush things out.
Adapting is still a skill. And even like you said before, as much as we all loved it, there were still book readers out there who didn't like the show at all when it was really at its best. So
I do think there is definitely an issue with hiring people who don't understand the source material or don't approach it from a place of love. There is a difference with that. Sometimes it could be really good, like Christopher Nolan. He's just a great filmmaker, so he's going to understand how to make a Batman movie. But he's admitted he didn't read comics. He never loved comics. He's not a comic book head. Then there's somebody like James Gunn, who loves comic books, who read them his entire childhood growing up, who still reads them as an adult, and that shows through the love and the care and the attention that he pays to his characters and whatnot. But something like The Rings of Power, those guys have taken enough shit, so I guess I'm just throwing on a little bit more. But you listen to some of the interviews and the way that they talk about Lord of the Rings and the lore and the familiarity they have with all that stuff. And it's like, so this was just a job for you. This wasn't done out of a place of love. And I think that's where Game of Thrones started. And then they bought into their own hype a little bit too much and thought, oh, we're going to put a nice bow on the biggest show of all time. And then we'll go on to have an incredible career after this. We have our pick of the litter. What are we going to do next? So I think they just got a little bit too ahead of themselves there. But that is an issue. And I think that's something that but that's not what studios are. They're not in boardrooms talking about this because they're fucking morons. They're not vetting people based on their understandings of the properties that they're adapting. That's why some of them are so inconsistent. And then sometimes you get people who really love the source material and they adapt it and nobody watches it.
Yeah. Well, I think there is something to say about like someone who might be too faithful and try to include every single detail of what they're adapting to the point where the show or movie gets just bogged down by everything trying to be perfect and faithful. I think it's a delicate balance, but that's why it's a tough gig.
Well, that's why there's a reluctance to, that's not the reason, but there is a reluctance to make things animated projects when that would work so much better. Like, this is definitely never going to happen. But the fantasy book I'm always talking about, Black Leopard, Red Wolf, if you haven't read it, read it. Michael B. Jordan's production company has the film rights for a live action adaptation of that book. It's a huge, massive book. It's never going to work if you do it in one movie. Maybe they'll split it up into a trilogy, but even that, there's stuff that you're not going to be able to get into that is awesome. That would be adapted so well as an animated series. But that's just not what Hollywood's thinking of. If it was a Japanese book, they'd be like, yeah, let's turn this into a 200 episode anime. It's a fucking no-brainer.
Dude, I feel like that One Piece adaptation is just going to be, first of all, like, I haven't watched One Piece. I know of it. But, like, the one thing I do know is that it's, like, how many episodes?
Over 1,000.
So that's the project you picked to make a live action adaptation. Obviously, you're never, ever going to catch up to what it is with the anime. So you're going to have to adapt and condense some things and change some things, which is going to piss off your fucking core audience that you're trying to attract.
Right. And unless you're taking it and you're making something so spectacular that it doesn't matter because you're bringing in general audiences who aren't familiar, but everybody hears, oh, this new One Piece show on Netflix, it's awesome, you got to watch it. And then people who have read it or watched the original anime will say, well, they left out this, this, and this, and general audiences won't give a fuck as long as it's good.
But yeah, they couldn't even do it with Cowboy Bebop, which is what, 2 seasons?
Not even, yeah, it's 1 season.
You couldn't do a good job of that, and now you're going to take on this massive fucking established project?
Well, that's another, like, animes don't have to be adapted into live action. And people always say, you know, why would you even talk about it? It doesn't need to happen. But there is something to the idea of, can this be pulled off in the real world, quote unquote? There's something to that. So it's not necessarily that it needs to be adapted into live action, but I think it's intriguing. So, like Cowboy Bebop, I don't know the name of the person who was behind it, but totally missed the point of the tone of that show. And that's what happens with a lot of these adaptations when it comes from anime. Like, they think, oh, goofy, silly, fun. Like, no, Cowboy Bebop is sexy, steamy, violent, mature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also goofy, cheesy, and fun, but you're missing all that other stuff that made people love it.
I think it's just so tonally unique that you can't adapt it into live action.
Yeah, but Cowboy Bebop's also
very
taking a lot of inspiration from live action movies, live action shows.
Sure, yeah, but like I'm talking more like in the general sense.
Yeah, something like One Piece is way more difficult.
Or even like Zom 100, which I'm watching now. Like there's just this character and his bit, like he just gets naked all the time, and it's fucking hilarious. But like I feel like you just can't like to match that tone and like how it fits so well in this animated world to try to do that in live action. It's just you're never gonna hit it or have it translate in a way that you want it to. And when you do kind of embrace some of the not even wackiness, but, you know, just some of those tonal points and kind of the way these characters interact, like, I think it just comes off weird in a live action format.
Anime's got a lot of Looney Tunes in it. You can't adapt that, but Bollywood does it all the time.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean,
Triple R has a lot of goofy ass shit.
But it works.
No, yeah, it works perfectly. But you also need to embrace that. That's why people get embarrassed by doing things earnestly. And they just need to not get embarrassed. They need to respect what they're adapting, and that audiences will eventually pick up on, okay, this is what this is. It is a little goofy. It's throwing me off a little bit, but it's consistently like that. So eventually I'm going to vibe with it. You know, stop trying to meet audiences on their wavelength. Make them meet on yours.
Well, I think even if you look at something like a Vinland Saga, I think that would be, you can adapt that, I think.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Nice HBO, 12 episodes.
Yeah, but it would have to, like, even looking at the new season, I don't know, it would take balls, I think, for like an HBO or a Netflix to adapt that and then stick to what they're really trying to nail in that second season and the approach they do without falling into the trap of like, oh no, we need to create these massive and crazy action sequences to keep our audiences engaged.
Okay, well, that's going to be the last question we take. Good question to end the podcast on. It's always a topic I enjoy talking about and complaining about. But thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Nerd Soup podcast. Went a little long, but we're going to chop this baby up and get it out to you. Well, if you're listening, it's already out. So for Aaron, I am Beau Oliver, and we're signing off. Any last thoughts, Aaron?
No. I'm just PSA out there. If you go to the movies and see someone sitting by themselves, don't pick the seat next to them. Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcasts, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Beau spelt your name wrong in the credits.